So it's the very rare case where we have seen this exact matchup happen on this exact patch just a week ago. So we have a lot of data here, but you also have to consider maybe there was a little bit of strategy hiding because the tiebreaker didn't really matter too much in the end. Killer Queen needs to be super careful. Oh, this is some spicy beginning to the game.
And Emperor just checks out Killer Queen, throws in a shuriken and says, haha, I get the first auto. Now, we mentioned that these two teams have played earlier on this patch. Now, your way, what was the result of that series?
Well, Wales did win 2-1 in a very back and forth series, I have to say. But yeah, they did walk away with a victory.
Now, you say it's 2-1, I say it's 1-1 because Slater wasn't playing, it was Vin Boys. Therefore, I like to think that these two rosters are perfectly balanced against each other.
Well, that's actually a very good point. Yeah, SBTC came into the series with Win Boys, and he looked alright, not great, but yeah, Slater was definitely an improvement in Game 2 and 3, though Vit in Game 3 especially, on the Lucian Nami, which is even more surprising considering Lucian Nami's win rate in the VCS, he was smurfing the whole game. He was one of the main carries together with Glory on Jace in mid lane. So Vit, I think, especially in the last few weeks, has actually been able to stand up for himself. We had this dip in the middle of the split where Wales faced off against Saigon Buffalo and Cerberus back-to-back, and the two best AD carries at the point, at least, in Shogun and Artemis, was both just a serious loss for Wales, with bot lane diff being the deciding factor. But in the last few weeks, and especially of the uptake of form for Vit and B as well in the bot lane 2v2, they managed to win all their series. So on a 4-series winning streak, and Vit has been one of the big factors alongside some of the other carries on the team. So as an eternal Vit hater myself, I have to say, I have to give him credit. He has really stepped up and has been able to stand up to some of the better ADCs in the league.
And that's something that we were kind of discussing at the start of the split. It's a very nice trade from the SBTC bottom lane, B being chunked down to about half health, is coming into this split and Team Wales having a bit of a, I wouldn't call it a super team, but definitely a big investment in towards trying to win the split. Vit was a big question mark for them, and we thought, oh, maybe we'll get to see Haki. We were a little bit sad that we didn't get to see Haki, but Vit has slowly grown in this ADC role and has just become more of a stable factor. Now, DNK looking towards the bottom lane, Flame Chompers will prevent DNK from finding any engage, and Palette with a poor grand entrance, getting chunked down with a zap. Almost finding first blood for the Wales.
Wait, no, don't flash that. Oh, you know Paletta's flash. I was just gonna praise him for not flashing, and then he flashes so late. Unfortunate. It's a flash trait which is not that favorable for Jinx into Rakan especially. A little bit of an overstep, but another gank attempted. Oh, this is counter-gankable from Killer Queen. So many early wards from both teams. Very safe play, which is completely different to what we saw in the early games, especially in Game 1 of the tiebreaker, where it was just a brawl from start to finish. So this is back to the early split form from Wales, where they played very measured, very slow games, very low kill early games. And I feel like this style fits Wales really well, because their mid and late game objective control is amazing. But here Glory needs to be careful. I think he can just walk away though.
Yeah, Glory kiting back the gank rather effectively. Still has his flash available as well, and will get chunked down and is probably within kill range of DR1 if that Sylas can get a full combo onto the Annie.
Yeah, and now I want to take a minute to talk about Killer Queen and Glory together, because not only because of the combination of players, we were so hyped to see this team form this combination of two rookie players or newer players, new generation VCS talent, that kind of just always sat on the edge of being great, but never really made that final step. Now they get together, the Burst the Sky carry and Glory, and of course the Luxury carry and Killer Queen forming a team together. So that's super exciting. And especially if you look at the champions played, Glory on Annie, his most played champion in this whole split. 7 games, really good win rate as well. And Killer Queen on Viego, the exact opposite. 3 games, none were wins. So this combination has not really been all that successful so far, but I do like to see Killer Queen in a very strong early game jungler that can skirmish. As Vit, no flash, remember, this is very dangerous.
Paulette with the engage. In comes B. Can he keep Vit alive with a hostile takeover? Maybe they get the kill! They do indeed! It is first blood for Team Wales. Renata coming in clutch, and we'll say thank you very much.
That's the B-div right there, overextending under the tower into Renata W. They just forget about the champion. And Vid, of course, back from the grave, and they get first blood on their hyper carry.
Well, I think we need to have a quick replay of that because it looked like it was all over for Vid.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good collapse against any other support champion in the game, because Vid dies here. But of course, it's Renata W, and and the combination of Renata W and Jinx passive to get her to safety super quickly worked wonders there. Vid gets away with wasting his flash early on and actually gets first blood funneled into him. And Dragon on top of that. A really good early game Dragon too. But now Killer Queen might be overextended. No, he's fine.
Nice little handshake by B and SBTC. Don't want to aggress on the play too much. Team Wales able to pick up the first streak, and they sport themselves a rather nice 1,000 goal lead. Although Slater does have a little CS lead in the bottom lane, but I don't think that will be enough to negate the first blood goal Vit was able to secure.
And bot lane focus going in Wales' way is such a good sign for this team, because that's really, as Marby talked about on the desk, I believe, one of the biggest ways you can see SBTC actually winning a series against Wales is ADC diff. As I said earlier, they struggled against really strong ADC teams, hyper carry ADC teams, and Slater, in his form, this actually most MVP points from our caster team, from all the ADCs, is certainly one of those players that can be the hyper carry. 2 titles under his belt against Gam in 2020. He can really be the player that makes the difference. But of course, Vit with a huge improvement, and I feel like this meta also shifting more towards safer early lanes and more team fighting can help him quite a bit, because even though his team fighting is not on the level of Slater and Artemis, it should be good enough, especially with some of the other carries on his team, to set him up, some of the bailouts from B, so that Wales can win teamfights later on. Generally, a super strong team-fighting team.
And let's not forget as well, you bring up the 2 titles that Slater has. That is with Paulette. When they were both together back on Team Flash in 2020, they were able to... Oh yeah, sorry, just one of them. Able to dethrone Gam from the top of the split. Something that hasn't happened until Cerberus back in winter 2021. And we'll see whether Gam can be dethroned this spring split. However, bit of a quiet lull phase in the game. I'm still just looking towards glory on this Annie, because one thing to always remember whenever you have an Annie on the map, it's going to get lane pressure, which it has got over DR1. Can it roam around and find some picks in the side lanes?
Yeah, and this is a very surprising early game in terms of jungle aggression from Wales, especially, Nagia, be careful there, very good scouting, and now the counter gank is coming in. This could be spicy. That's a 2v2, and Wukong has ultimate. Killer Queen needs to be very, very careful. She runs straight into that double ultimate, but instead, now wait. Oh my god, SBTC.
Does Killer Queen need to be careful? In comes Glory, flash with the Tibbers, handshake in, down goes Ember. Killer Queen says thank you for the kill, and the rest of SBTC make their way forward. B will fall, but surely this is Team Wales' fight all day. DR1 still alive, and somehow the kill doesn't go the way of it. DR1 survives with practically no health remaining. The rockets are still flying from Fit, but not enough to secure a kill, and it will just be a 1-for-2 with SBTC coming out on top.
But how did SBTC win this one? This is... That was some puzzling play there. Wales, a bit over-aggressive. Killer Queen, he finally wanted to do something, chased a little too far and didn't get his reset. Look at this. This collapse is amazing. Team Wales is first on the map, but they do lose a lot of HP through the double... AoE ultimates, the double circles of the Wukong and Cannon, and actually lose one member before this fight really kicks off. I believe B went down super early. So the fight, they really shouldn't have lost the early 2v4 engagement, but because they were able to just focus one target down, then Killer Queen thinks, okay, we have a 4v2 advantage, but actually B is already down, then they overcommit to the chase. So very close to actually breaking the game open for Team Wales. If B is 2 levels higher in that fight and he gets his ultimate, or has the ultimate to influence the fight, I think it's just a wipe for and SBTC has no chance whatsoever. But through very weird interactions there and double circle ultimates, they actually get bailed out themselves this time. And once again, engagement on Vit.
Again, Vit being caught out B, not around this time to keep his ADC alive, but Vit's just perfectly happy to play this particular 1v2, and we saw the damage being output in that previous fight. It was all favored to the side of Team Wales, but SBTC making their damage count more, all of their damage focused onto more specific targets, let's say. Now Team Wales looking towards this first Rift Herald of the game.
Yeah, if you take a quick look at the itemization, of course, Annie has 0 AP, like, okay, 15 AP from the ring. So even though the engage looked good, there's not much damage after the engage, right? So that's some of the reason why this engagement went so weirdly even though it was a 4v2 at the start. And now SBTC actually stealing away the first Herald against kind of run of play. Team Wales focusing a little bit more on securing a safer lane for Vid. This is very unusual. If you look at the stats for Team Wales in the early game, they are very good, or throughout the whole game actually, they're very good at controlling objectives. First in almost every stat, especially Dragon, but also Herald doing quite well. So this is already kind of against the general trends of these two teams, but Wales is gonna fight back with another Dragon. That's 2 Dragons already, and if the Soul is good, this could lead to a nice extra win condition.
Someone prepare the drum roll for what soul we're going to have. It is an Infernal. It will be an Infernal Rift, and I think an Infernal Soul is alright when you look towards members like Nagia, Glory, Vit. Speaking of Nagia, he is about to get engaged on in a 1v3 under his tower. The Cyclone has been used, and I think Slater will be wanting to pick up the spoils of war. No other members from Team Wales can get up to this top lane either.
Yeah, Nagia is so sad. He's watching his screen. He knows it's gonna get gray. It's gonna turn grey very soon. Can't really do anything there, and the kill goes over to Emperor.
You could just see Slater, Killer Instinct, say, "This is my kill," and Emperor say, "No, buddy, go back to bot lane. This is my kill."
So we do have precedent for this kind of situation happening. Actually, Game 3 between Team Wales against SBTC in the tiebreaker, they counter-picked top lane and went top lane over and over again to punish Nagia in lane. He was own 3, permanently dived on from the enemy team. But SBTC kind of faltered in the mid game. They were not able to push their advantage with an AP top laner, this time Rumble. But now it's Cannon. They find Lori here. I think Lori should be fine, though. Yeah, no damage between either of these mid laners. They're just building Rod of Ages, no stacks. They're just staring at each other. Very tanky.
Okay. Emperor, go in, son. On to Vit. The shield is enough to keep Vit alive. But Pellet is making his way in. Flashes forward, drops down the Ignite. Surely that will burn down and kill Vit. Emperor ends up finding the Thundering Shuriken to secure the kill. And SBTC have their 4th of the game.
And yet again, Vid with a slight oversight, as he did in the early game with the Flash. Just give the kill to the Ignite. Palette, he used a Flash and Ignite to get the kill. Honestly, might not be worth it to get the kill there on the support. Instead, he tries to fight back, steps back in, and the kill goes over to Emperor. That's a bit unfortunate. Vid with some very minor mistakes that give the wrong targets kills, unfortunately. So now SBTC have recovered their early game. They're still slightly behind in gold, actually, which is a bit surprising. And they're facing 2 dragons while already having used their herald. So even though some of the skirmishes have gone in SBTC's favor in the last few minutes, I think Wales are still sitting pretty in this game and are enjoying their mid-game advantages.
Killer Queen looking for an angle onto Slater, but Slater is wise to the movements of Team Wales. 2.5 minutes until a potential 3rd Drake and Soul point for Team Wales if they can pick up that particular Infernal Drake. And as you mentioned, SBTC, they kind of look like they should be ahead in terms of their kill advantage, but you can see, in terms of tower plates, Team Wales have been able to pick up 7, which is a net 700 gold advantage over SBTC.
Yeah, and once again, this is not a typical Wales game. Wales usually comes alive after 15 minutes. They are actually down on average when it comes to towers, as opposed to SBTC, who's one of the best early tower-focused team. And then it completely reverses in stats if you just look through all the games in the whole split, as Nagia needs to be careful. That's the double circle ultimate combo again. Trying to bait them here.
He is, because Killer Queen is hovering around, but overall, SBTC have 3 members, make it 4, because both Slater and Palette have arrived to the top lane. And Team Wales are just going to have to back off. They have been able to pick up the first tower of the game. Maybe DNK will even fancy stealing this red buff away from Killer Queen.
Yeah, no, Killer Queen. Oh, the tower does go down to the cannon, which is nice, but doesn't really advance the game state all that much. It's a little bit of gold into the cannon. more important is what's going to happen around this dragon in 1 minute. Because if Wales gets the soul point this early on, especially with the Jinx and an Annie, so really easy team fighting setups, I think it's going to be a hard game to play. So SBTC is hard pressed to play for this dragon and actually make something happen. They do have strong power spikes on their side. Emperor, no flash, but level 11 and movement ability already on his item. So he should be in prime position to contest this Jinx. Now, Vit does have the flash to keep himself safe, and his ghost might be up for the team fight as well. So we might well look at something like an Emperor against Vit to decide this team fight around the dragon in 40 seconds. But for that, Emperor actually needs to get down there. He does have TP, but no great wards to get behind the enemy team. So everything focused on this dragon. 30 seconds left, and it feels like Wales have the upper hand when it comes to vision setup. Really good pink wards all across the river.
And looking towards that team fight, something I like to bring up whenever there is a Viego or a Jinx is how important it is for Team Wales in this instance to be able to find that first kill. And they have a composition that has very good single target damage, having the likes of Glory on this Annie, Nagia on this Jace. If they can find that first kill, get Killer Queen that reset, get Vit excited on the Jinx, the rest of the team fight can become so much easier for them to execute.
Emperor just uses teleport to get onto the bottom side of the dragon. So Wales surrendered a bit of their position, but they are clumping together. And they're trying to slowly walk towards dragon. They can flip. Honestly, it's fine for them to flip. They already have 2 dragons, and this is getting scary and scary. Glory!
Glory flashing forward, looking for the engage onto DNK. The hostile takeover has been used. Slicing Maelstrom will only find a 1-member. Killer Queen engaged on and will fall. The bailout will not be enough to keep him alive. But look at the Jinx go, firing out rockets and just forcing SBTC away. The zap is huge, and SBTC can they get into the pit? They can't. And Team Wales, yes, they lose the fight, but they have the health bar advantage, and now they have soul point.
No, they actually won the fight, Milky. Yes, they lost kills, but they won the fight. They pushed them back, and they got the dragon. That's all they ever came for. Honestly, the engagement Glory is really bad. He doesn't even get the stun initially on DNK. They try to burst down the jungler, but amazing disengage ultimate here from B, just using the full space of the river, the perfect place to use that ultimate. The hostile takeover, just amazing. And the enemy team is pretty short range too. No opportunity for Slater to dive into the back line, so he's kind of muted in the fight. You never really want to go front to back with the Kaiser into Jinx. That's never going to work. Jinx just so much better in those kind of situations. And imagine if Vit has 2 more items there. I think that he gets a pentakill on the chase. So honestly, that's a really, really good sign for Wales.
Junglers smacking each other as they look at the second Rift Herald. SBTC were able to get the first one, and Team Wales I don't think would be too bothered if they can't pick up this second Herald of the game.
Very disciplined game from Wales, really back to their earlier split form where they played super slow games. We thought they were we were in LCK territory. We looked at Killer Queen, we're like, who is this guy? He's not diving the enemy team, he's not going into the enemy jungle. Is this really Killer Queen? But yeah, he has been much more disciplined now on this new team. Maybe B has tamed him. And even though the tiebreaker was a bit of an old VCS style, I was looking at that and thinking, okay, I'm not actually sure if this is indicative of what Wales wants to do for playoffs, because second place tiebreaker, it doesn't really matter all that much. If you look at the standings, it's very unlikely that either of these teams gets picked, and the likely scenario is that they actually play a best of 5 just 1 week after. So do you really want to show everything? And I feel like this first game is already a really good indicator that both teams weren't really playing at 100%, at least in the macro sense of things. Maybe mechanically, yes, but playing it much safer already in this early stage of the series.
There's something really disgusting about seeing Vit with Runan's Hurricane just throwing out so many rockets. Team fights really clumped together, which means Vit's going to be able to hit multiple people at one time. Now, I do want to just take a small trek away from seriousness, because your way, I just realized that you've got a live reaction cam in the bottom of the screen, and I love it.
Well, it's the classic.
That hasn't been there all split, has it?
No. It's only in these kind of situations. Usually I'm producing, but we need to focus. Nagia overstepped. Oh, he might die here.
Flash forward with a slicing Maelstrom, and a kill will go the way of SBTC. But that, critically, is a flash down for Emperor, which means for the next fight over Drake, Emperor cannot flash with that slicing Maelstrom to get onto Team Wales' backline.
Yeah, and now it's on SBTC. They need to make this count. And they could try to run it Baron, right? But the enemy top laner you just killed has TP, so it's really risky. And they also have a Jinx who loves to play around Baron. That is her dream scenario. Remember that legendary pentakill from Danny back last year in spring? So, really, this kill is not going to amount to much, and this is kind of what SPTC against Wales is all about. Look at the kill score, look at the dragon score. SPTC will go for aggressive kills, will go for skirmishes all the time, and sometimes it's enough. They really are the old VCS style team, where it's all about skirmishing, all about hand diffing. They don't really do all that well in terms of lane assignments and macro, but it doesn't really matter all that much in most of the games, because they just out-hands their opponents, and that is eerily similar to the old team of Ren. If you think about Saigon Buffalo against Team Secret last year, actually, Secret always lost early games against Saigon Buffalo. They were 5k gold down in the mid game, then the game slowed down, and gradually Saigon Buffalo actually lost a lot of their advantages. So even though I really like Ren when it comes to setups in the early game and drafts, maybe there's also a bit to be criticized about his mid-games and macro teaching, because it seems like both of his really successful teams struggle in the mid-game when it comes to lane assignment and understanding when to strike and where to attack.
Well, if we remember back when we had Hanke on our podcast and he was talking about Saigon Buffalo, talking about how they're a really good team, but he will always mention that their weakness is if you take them out of their comfort zone, if you throw something into the game that they're not expecting, that's when they struggle to adapt and be able to find a macro game plan, as well as a team like Gammon. Maybe we're seeing something similar for SBTC here in the 2023 spring split. Drake, though, will be spawning up soon, and my eyes are on Emperor. What can the Lightning Rat do? Can he find a critical slicing Maelstrom? While he doesn't have Flash, he does have a Rocket Belt at his disposal.
They need to be very careful. This is almost the same as the last Dragon, where Team Wales just clumped together, and they have the better front-to-back team fight. They have better range. This is a flip.
And again, Glory just flashes in. DK's out, the juggler is gone. Emperor to the backline with a slicing Maelstrom, but there's no follow-up from SBTC. Slater forced to flash over the wall, throws out a Void Seeker. Killer Queen, though, still alive, and Team Wales dominate SBTC in the river. They pick up the soul as well, and SBTC are continued to run on the retreat. But where are they going? Dia 1 will be able to survive, but surely the same cannot be said for Palette.
Yeah, Palette is trying to buy time. This is actually not bad from him. Okay, he's gonna die, most likely. There he goes. But he actually chased them towards the top side of the map. So now Team Wales has an really easy access to Baron Pit. Will they start the Baron? They don't have to. They just won the big prize of the Soul. Played almost to perfection. Very easy, actually, the way Team Wales played this game. They didn't really care about vision setup. They just said, hey, we just walk at them as 5. We have better range. We have better defensive tools with the Renata. And, well, this time Glory actually hits the flash stun onto the enemy jungler. They eliminate the smite at the start. So now SBTC is forced to fight no matter what, because they can't win the flip anymore. They don't have smite. And at this point, it's just doomed. So very, very nice play from Wales. Very standard, like not very high level under anything there, but still super good, very disciplined play. And Wales off to a 4-0 Dragon start. The gold will still be close, but the game is actually in a really good state now for Wales to win team fights, especially if you consider Jinx against Kai'Sa.
And I think as well, it was just really smart from Team Wales. They kind of identified, hey, look, Palette's on one side looking for a flank. Emperor's on another side looking for a flank. Let's just flash engage onto DNK, get a kill, and then we win the fight. And there was just no way for SBTC to do what they wanted to do in that fight. We saw Emperor finding a really big slicing Maelstrom, but just no follow-up at all. And now SBTC have to fight against this Infernal Soul Team Wales. To be fair to SBTC, they're not even 2,000 gold behind Team Wales, but against the Soul, against the scaling Jinx as well, it's going to be very difficult for them.
Yeah, this is the most fake I've ever seen a gold lead look like, because it's not even at all in this game. Like, 4 dragons, the individual stats on the dragons you have to consider, but then also the soul on top of that, and scaling of champions, they're already a better 5-man composition. just clumping together and just playing front to back. So this is really hard to play now for SBTC, and they misread some of what their composition was supposed to do, in my opinion, when it comes to especially Dragon setups. They should never try to face Wales' team comp face up. Like, just try to set up flanks. You have Silas, you have Cannon, and Wukong. They can all come from different sides and try to flank and get on top of Jinx and actually make it so that B can't just put his defensive tools, especially his ultimate, down and they all run at each other. If you come from different sides, Renata loses a lot of her value. But instead, they just ran to Dragon first, made it so easy for Wales to just walk down the river together, and that's exactly what happened.
In fairness to SBTC, they did try to go on Team Wales from 3 different sides, and Team Wales, well, Glory in particular, with a flash engage. However, we'll go back to this point shortly because Baron has been started, and once again, it is SBTC who are onto the objective first.
Yeah, a bit of desperation, maybe a little bit of let's see if they react. If not, if yes, we just walk away. If not, we get a free Baron. I don't hate the play. There's nothing much to do for SBTC. No one cares about bot lane at the moment. I would like to see Team Wales put Nagia down there, because Nagia actually built really strong items for 1v1 against Cannon and should be able to pressure him. Oh, and he overstepped.
Flash engage from DNK. Slater follows up with the killer instinct. Hostile takeover used as well. Really nice handshake. And Emperor will fall. It's a 1-for-1. And now the Jinx is excited. And DNK is dead. A double kill for Vit and the Baron for the taking for Team Wales.
Almost the perfect situation to start the fight for SBTC. They eliminate Glory before he can do anything. Couldn't flash. Couldn't do anything. Oh, Diamond with a huge steal.
Hostile takeover into the Baron pit. Nagia being engaged on Slater, trying to kite back. Will fall, but will be able to get 1 kill in the process. Team Wales on the chase, looking for Dia 1 and Palette. The rockets are flying from Vit. Big slow zap won't land, and Vit will not be able to get this kill. Has already used a flash and can't get in range of throwing out another water.
Yeah, but look at how hard it is to play those team fights for SBTC. But they do buy a little bit more time to get a few more items. Of course, there will come a certain breakpoint in terms of items where you have enough burst that if you isolate Vit in any of these team fights, especially considering both of his summoners are down, maybe for Elder Dragon, and you burst him down, then item disadvantages will not matter too much. The start is so good, but they only kill Annie, and Annie is not a main carry. Annie is a little bit of a deceptive engage tank thingy in this composition. She doesn't really offer all that much damage. It's all on Vit to provide the hyper carrying and a little bit of Jace. But Annie is really just the engage bot, and they overcommit onto that engage bot and pay dearly for it. Look at the positioning for Vit. He's so safe, even pinned against the wall in this Baron pit. He can just free fire all the time.
Right, he flashed out of the hostile takeover, realized he was still in the hostile takeover range, had to use the stopwatch. Baron now being started once again. SBTC can test it once more. DNK using the Cyclone, handshake away. Baron secured. Hostile takeover will snag onto DNK. 1 kill for Team Wales, looking for more as Emperor goes into the backline with a slicing maelstrom, but the lightning rat just does not have enough damage. Dia 1 on the run. Team Wales already claiming 3 kills, looking for a 4th, and there's not much Dia 1 can do. Team Wales take the fight, and they may well just take the game as well.
Yeah, marching down mid lane with 5 members strong with the Jinx. That and the Jace, 2 of the best champions against towers in the game. I think this is gonna be game number 1 in Wales back. What a beautifully played game. Very un-old VCS style. Like, very strong macro understanding. A good restraint shown from this team. They are on top of their game as opposed to some of what they showed in the tiebreaker. They are playing a standard textbook style of League. Much better than SBTC.